Yeah, so just take a few minutes, settle in a little bit. Maybe wiggle the hips around just a little. And just maybe start to notice the way the belly feels. You can, what you guys already are, you can extend the elbows out to the side, stack palms. Just let the forehead rest on the back of the hands if you wish. Just take the next few moments to arrive. Just to settle in a little bit more. You know, bend the knees, you can roll out the ankles or windshield wipe with the feet. Maybe finding just a little bit of movement just to help the body start to settle. And eventually you can just let the feet rest back on the mat. Take a moment to scan the body, see where you can let go of areas of any tension. And before we take a few moments, just in stillness and quiet of the room, maybe take a moment to set your intention. Or not just an intention, you select your focus point, your anchor, whether it's a mantra or a word or whatever that is, so that as the mind, the thoughts of the mind start to creep into the practice and want to take over, you have that focus point to draw back to. Back to the present moment, to practice. Slowly start to bring focus back to the breath, back to the mat. Let's rotate the elbows and bring them into the rib cage, palms, fingers spread wide underneath the shoulders. And start to bring a little bit of engagement into the legs. The nose and the gaze can stay down towards the mat. You may even find that you want to close your eyes, just a little less distraction. Continue to activate the legs, press the tops of the feet into the mat. Notice the quad muscles, maybe the glute muscles begin to engage just a little. And then with the next inhale, just lift the chin, open the chest, a little baby cobra. And then exhale, release back down. Let's just do that a few more times, just linking that movement and that breath together. Inhaling to rise, and then exhaling, releasing. Go ahead and take one more breath. And as the chin comes down towards the mat, pause for a moment. And now let's do that with our toes. So inhale, lift the toes up, really activate the back line of the body, and exhale, release back down. Breath. And release the toes. And now let's bring the toes and the top of the head together. So baby cobra, inhale up, toes lift as well. And then exhale down. Just continuing to flow with your own breath, your own pace. After maybe that third round, the toes and the chin come back towards the mat. Start to press into the palms. Lift yourself up through tabletop, and let's start to shift the hips back towards child pose. You might even find before you lower down, if you want to shift side to side, kind of wiggle into the hips a little bit. Just kind of figuring out where you want the knees to be placed. And you can start to bring the forehead back towards the mat. Maybe you use the palms or the fists for a little bit of support. And I just want to take this opportunity to let you know that this is your practice. You're here for you. I'm here to guide you, but everything is completely optional to you. So something, if I'm guiding you through something and it's not resonating with you, then please go where it feels good or where you feel guided to go. Let's her to make her triceps a little more active. So depending on where the hands ended up, start to reach the fingertips towards the top of the mat. The arms will start to engage, maybe even the elbows lift up off of the mat. Then press into the tailbone at the same time. So see if you can find a little extra length through the back spine. Just take those extended fingertips and start to walk them over towards the right side of the mat. Press gently into that left hip and notice a little stretch through the left side. The pinky finger all the way down into the hip, underneath the arm. And then start to walk those fingertips through center and bring them over now to the left side. And we're just moving that side stretch to the right side of the body. Let's start to bring the fingertips back to center, so palms underneath the shoulders, press yourself up to the tabletop. Engage the belly here. Lift on that place between the shoulder blades. You're not dumping into the shoulders. Option here again to just keep the eyes closed or the gaze soft. And then with the next breath, let's lift the chin, let the belly drop, press the tailbone up. And then as you exhale, draw your chin to chest. Pull the tailbone in. Just as I had you do when we came through those baby cobras, just move at your own pace with your own breath, alternating between cat-cow. Start to take your go through one more round. So next time the chin comes to the chest, use the next breath to just come back to neutral. Let's leave the hips above the knees. Walk the palms out. So maybe even the fingertips come off of the mat and draw the ears down between the biceps, taking a little puppy pose. A nice stretch underneath the arms and across the chest. Working into our heart meridian, our heart energy line. And let's start to come back up. Walk the palms in just a little so they're still well above your shoulders. And then let's start to shift the hips towards the mat. Take a moment and seal pose. Once you're there, you might want to put a little micro bend in the elbows just to soften that a little bit. You pull the shoulder blades together, lift the chin a little, stretching through the hip flexors. And then let's shift the hips back towards the heels. Come back in the child's pose for a moment. Keep those arms active, press into that tailbone. Notice where you feel that sensation in the eyes, hopefully it feels good. And then let's come back up through tabletop again. And we're going to shift down and we're going to come all the way back onto our bellies again. I'm going to take a moment just to come into the hips. So just rotate the elbows back out to the side, stack the palms. We're gonna take a moment in half frog pose. You're just gonna draw that right knee up towards that right elbow. And just make the right foot comfortable to whatever works for you. And then just start to relax that right quad muscle. Let's see if you can get that hip to open up a little bit. Another nice full inhale here. And then as you exhale, start to draw that right leg back to meet the left. Maybe even kind of shift the hips back and forth. So you can bring everything back into alignment. Finding that neutral starting point, and then shift over now to the left side. So draw that left knee up towards the left elbow. Good breath here. That left leg comes back to meet the right. Same thing. Once it gets there, shift yourself from side to side. Same thing. Maybe keep the eyes closed or the gaze soft if you wish. Now let's rotate the elbows and let the chest come into Sphinx pose. You're elevated on your forearms. And then once you're there, just like we did with seal, kind of lift on that place between the shoulder blades. Chest is open. If you're noticing a little bit too much sensation of compression, kind of showing up in the low back, you can bring the chin down a little bit towards the chest. Just take a few rounds of breath here with the chest open. Nice stretch for the spine. Slowly start to release. So start to bring the chin down towards the mat. Slide those elbows back beside the rib cage. Palms come underneath the shoulders. Let's press ourselves back up to that tabletop again. Take yourselves through a few rounds of cat-cow. There could even be a little bit, you don't have to do just cat-cow here. If you want to, circle around or shift the hips side to side, you can. There's other movements that can be found. Just using this warm-up time to just really kind of notice where you're at physically. And eventually just settle into a little bit of stillness. From here, tuck your toes, lift your hips up towards the ceiling, take downward facing dog. So spend a few moments here, taking a little bit of free movement. You can pedal out the feet or pedal the knees, stretching into the toes and the arches of the feet. The head hang heavy, ears down between the biceps, opening the chest towards the mat. And eventually settle into some stillness just for a moment. I always think this feels so good until all of a sudden it just doesn't. I don't want to be here anymore. And eventually, let's bring the gaze between the hands and set the knees back down on the mat. We're going to bring that right foot forward. The foot's going to come up between the hands. Maybe tent the fingertips And let's take a moment, just for a moment, and tuck the back toes, and let's lift the back knee and come into runner's lunge for a moment. So equal weight in both feet. Press long through that back heel, and then see if you can open up the hips just a little bit more towards the mat. Focusing on the front of that left hip. One more breath here. Let's go ahead and set that knee back down. And then bring your hands to that right knee. Let's start to bring the shoulders up over top of the hips. So take a moment. Get used to having your head back upright. Let's find lots of length through the top of the head. Take a breath. We're going to come into a little spinal twist. I'm going to have you set the left hand kind of fingertips on the outside of that right knee. Then we're going to inhale those right fingertips up, lots of length. And you're going to start to bring those right fingertips back behind you. Challenges the balance a little bit. Shoulder. And then let's start to bring those fingertips back up overhead. Squaring the shoulders off, and then let's close that back, bring those fingertips back. And then let's shift the hips back towards the heel, straighten that front leg best that you can. It's a little half split. Let's go ahead and start to kind of shift forward. And then you're going to bring that right foot back to that tabletop. And then let's take a round of cat-cow before we switch to the other side. Just using that to kind of as a reset point to bring ourselves back. And then you're going to bring that left foot forward. So find your foundation first, find your balance and your set point, and then when you're ready, just like we did on the other side, tuck those right toes, lift that right knee. Take a moment in that runner's lunge just to open up the hips again, or open up the hips on the other side, bringing the focus to that right hip flexor. Set that right knee down. Bring the hands to that left knee and then slowly start to bring the shoulders up over the hips. And just pause for a moment, just enough to get acclimated. Then you're going to bring those right fingertips kind of on the outside of that knee for a little bit of stability. And let's inhale those left fingertips up, reach up. And then slowly start to reach those fingertips back. Remembering to breathe while you're here. And with that next inhale, sweep those fingertips back up. And as they come forward, then the shoulders meet it and then hinge at the hips. Fingertips come back to the mat, bringing that left foot for a little support, and then shift the hips back, straighten that left leg. And let's start to make our way back right to where we started. So those fingertips come forward, you kind of walk that left foot out, and then that left knee comes back to meet the right knee, land right back in that tabletop where we started. Let's take a round of cat-cow again. And eventually landing in that neutral spine. Let's tuck the toes, lift the hips, come back to down dog for a moment. So whether or not you have movement in your down dog, it's totally up to you. Just bringing that nice long stretch to that whole posterior side of the body. And now we're going to bring the gaze forward, walk the feet up. Let's find our forward fold. Bring the feet underneath you where they're comfortable, where you really feel like they're going to set you up a nice firm foundation. And then try to let the top of the head hang towards the mat. Maybe a little bend in the knees, soften that stretch through the hamstrings. You can leave your fingertips on the floor, you can sway side to side, you can hold on to either elbow. It's kind of whatever feels good to you. It's a little inversion. Eventually, we're going to find some stillness. The attention goes back into the feet, and then engage the legs nice and strong. You can even slide the hands up to the knees or the thighs, and then let's use those leg muscles to slowly come up to standing. Sweep the arms wide, palms meet, hands come down to heart center. And now let's close the eyes. Just take a couple rounds of breath here. Just a moment to reset, acclimate to standing, and maybe bring our attention back to our focus point. Leave the hands right where they are. You can start to open the eyes. We're going to take a moment. We're going to come into tree pose. So start to shift the weight over to the right leg. I'm going to have you start by just kickstanding that left heel into that right ankle, to the toe or the knees just angled out, just enough that it feels comfortable to you. And just start here. So finding the balance, engaging the belly, kind of testing the waters to see where we are on this morning. And then you can just stay here. If you haven't already, maybe find a place, focus point to bring your eyes to ahead of you to help with that balance. And if you want to start to slide that leg up a little bit, see where your tree is today. And from here, we're just going to start to bring that left knee forward. Just kind of squaring it off with the hips. And then we're going to start to hinge at the hips and slowly step those left toes back, landing in high crescent lunge. So the toes are tucked, the heel is up. Challenging balance again. So really take a moment to drive into the feet and set that foundation up. And you might find that if you're a little wobbly, maybe you want to shorten your stance. So just like runner's lunge, you're strong in that back leg as well as your front leg, and your shoulders are over top of your hips. And then with the next breath, let's start to reach the fingertips up overhead, finding the balance. Now we're going to challenge that a little bit with a little movement. So with the next inhale, send that breath right to the tips of the fingers. Inhale, and then let's exhale. We're going to twist to the right. For a moment. See a little heat coming into that right leg. We're going to inhale back up to center. Reach up, and now let's twist to the left. Back up to center. Let's take that one more round to each side. Just same thing, just moving at your own pace, your own breath. Last round, those fingertips are going to come back up. You're going to square the shoulders up, and then let's reach the hands down, bring them to the hips, and let's kind of bring that back foot forward. We're going to come into pyramid pose, mostly for the stretch and just for the movement in the back side of the body. Excuse me. So you guys are set up well, your stance is shortened, and the back toes are angled out probably about 40 degrees, just roughly however your hips feel good. And then let's check in with the hips and kind of square them off towards the front of the room. Now you can leave your hands right on your hips. You can bring your hands around the small of your back, which it's in your practice, which I don't know if I want to do it today. I'm in a pair of hands, it's up to you. We didn't warm the shoulders up yet, so that might be a little iffy back there. So just find what's good for you. Bring the breath to the top of the head again. Really fill yourself up, and then slowly find your forward fold. You're just pausing halfway, engaging in that belly. Your legs are there for your balance. And pull that right hip back if it started to creep up a little bit. And then if you have it in your practice, you can fold a little bit more. If you get too much tension in that right hamstring, go ahead and put a bend in the knee. Just go where it feels good. You're here to stretch. You're here to just explore and have fun. Take one more big breath and then engaging that belly and slowly start to come back to upright. And when the top of the head reaches the ceiling, pause. And then let's just step that left foot forward to meet the right, landing right back in our Tadasana. And let's go ahead and release those arms. Let's take a minute and just come into the shoulders. Do that. So let's just inhale those fingertips up, reach up. And then as we exhale the hands down, let's bring the right arm across the body, like old gym class stretch. And then use that left arm for a little leverage. And then let's go ahead and unravel, open the arms back up, reach up. And let's take that to the other side. I meant to add these in earlier and it kind of bypassed me. Unravel. Let's come back up, reach those fingertips up. And now we're going to bring the arms around. You're going to cross the right arm underneath the left, cross at the elbows, bring those hands or fingertips to the shoulders. And now let's lift the elbows up. Go ahead and release those elbows back down. Let's unravel the arms, open up, reach. And now the left arm is going to come in the right, cross at the elbows. And let's start to lift. Sorry, I almost forgot back. I was distracted in my thoughts. There's the brain creeping back in. Let's go ahead and release that down. Unravel that. Let's just roll the shoulders. There we go. And then let's just settle back in to our Tadasana. And just for a reset breath, and then that way we can all just start back together. Let's inhale those hands up. Let the palms touch. Draw the hands down to heart center and close the eyes just for a moment. And then leaving the hands where they are, start to let the eyes flutter open a little. We're going to start to come into that tree pose on the other side. So start to shift the weight to that left foot. Or that left leg, sorry, engage that left leg and then start with that kickstand just to explore a little bit. Noticing if this side's a little bit different than the other. If you feel ready, you can start to slide the foot up a little. More breath here. Slowly start to close that knee. And we're going to start to hinge at the hips, engage the belly, and bring those right toes behind you, high crescent lunge. So toes are tucked, heel is up. Same thing as you did on the other side. Set up your foundation. Notice how you feel. You have the option to shorten the stance. And also, I didn't offer this on the other side. You have the option to take more of a warrior one. If you want to set that heel down to kind of firm that foundation up. I just like challenging the balance a little. So from here, let's start to reach those fingertips up, lengthen out. And now we're going to exhale and twist to the left. Reaching strong through both fingers. Lots of lines of energy here, top of the head. Now we're going to twist to the left. Take one more round on each side. Just move at your own pace. Center. Back to center. Pause for just a moment. Let's release the hands down to the hips. And then let's shorten our stance. We're going to take that triangle pose on the other side. So your feet come a little closer together and that back heel lands and the right toes are kind of angled out to the side. And then take a minute and kind of draw your hips back forward if they started to come out of alignment. And now you can, play around a little bit more with whether you want to bring, hands, your arm, fingertips to opposite wrists, prayer hands, or maybe even knuckles together. And then take a nice big breath into the top of the head, open the chest, let's lift. And then slowly exhale, forward fold. So pause halfway, check in with the hips. Maybe that left hip needs to get tucked back in just a little. And then see if you want to go a little further. Same option on the other side, you can bend that front leg. Just let it feel good. And then engage the belly. Top of the head starts to come back up towards the ceiling. Using those leg muscles to get you there. Pausing for a moment. And then just step that right foot forward to meet the left. Back in your Tadasana. And from here, let's just inhale those arms up overhead. Interlace the fingers and then flip the palms over. And using those right fingertips into the back of that left hand, let's draw that left palm up and over. Take a really nice side stretch. And then let's go back to center. And then take that over to the other side. Let's just do that one more time. Side. I don't know if it's because it's Monday or what, but these seem to feel really good. Back to center. Release the arms. Then we are going to bring the hands behind you and then interlace the fingers. We're going to come into the neck and the shoulders a little bit. So you're going to take those interlaced fingers and guide them over to the right side. So the left forearm is in the low back. And then let your shoulders relax away from the ears. And then let's bring that right ear to the right shoulder. So a nice stretch through that right side of the neck, top of the shoulder. And then you can adjust the chin just a little, and you'll notice just those little tiny movements change the stretch just a little. And you can kind of manipulate where all that energy and all that focus is going. And then start to bring the top of the head back up towards the ceiling. Pause for a moment. And you're going to take those knuckles, and then you're just going to slide them over now to the left side. Let the shoulders relax, and then bring the left ear to the left shoulder. Same thing, play around just a little bit. So bring the top of the head back to center. Release the interlace fingers back to kind of the center line. Go ahead and release that, let that go. Just a little bit. So from here, I'm going to have you start to shift the weight back into that right leg again. We're not going to come into tree pose, but you're going to use your balance to bring that left knee up. And then you're going to, same as before, we're going to start to shift the hips. We're going to step that left leg back, and this time we're going to land in warrior two. So the hips are going to open up to the left. Check in with the feet. Now, usually in yoga classes, it's taught that the back edge of the foot should be parallel with the back edge of the mat, but that really depends on your hips. My hips are kind of tight, so I like to turn my toes in just a little bit. It just doesn't create as much tension in that left hip. So find what feels good to you. Just make sure that that front knee is over top of that ankle. And then the shoulders are guided right over top of those hips. Bring your arms up. Lots of engagement in the arms. And then bring the gaze right over top of those right fingertips. Take a breath here. And then let's flip the front palm. Let's reach it up and over. You can even straighten that front leg into exalted. For a breath. And then start to sweep those right fingertips back. Put a bend in the knee. Come back into warrior two. And then we're going to start to put a bend in that right elbow, reach those left fingertips up and around, come into extended side angle. It's a long stretch to the left side of the body. And then leaving that right arm where it is, elbow on the thigh. Bring that left arm around and put the hand on the hip. Check in with that left shoulder, maybe draw it back just a little bit so you can open the chest. And then you're going to start to straighten that front leg. You can bring your right hand to the shin for support, coming right into triangle pose. One more breath here. Pressing into the feet, bring the top of the head up towards the ceiling. Put that bend back in that front knee and come back into your warrior two. And then we're going to straighten that front leg. You're going to turn your toes and square your hips off. Bring your hands to your hips. Let's just take a breath here for a moment. So the hands can stay on the hips, or you can bring the hands to heart center. It's really up to you. Just going to inhale through the top of the head, and you're going to put a bend in that right knee and then straighten out that left leg. Stretch here, activating that right glute, and then you're going to come back up through center. You're going to switch that to the other side. So strengthening in the quad, stretching on the inside of the opposite leg. Let's just take a few more rounds at your own pace, alternating between the two. And when you feel like you've given equal attention to both sides, let's just come back up to center. Turn the right toes towards the top of the mat. Push off of that left foot. Step back, move right into Tadasana. And let's just bring those hands up. Palms meet. Hands come down to heart center, eyes close. Take a breath. Slowly open the eyes. You can leave the hands at heart center, or if you feel a little bit more balanced, you want to bring your hands to your hips, that's up to you. We're going to start to shift the weight back into that left leg, or not back into, but into that left leg. Start to bring that right knee up. Balance. And then hinging at the hips, stepping that right foot back, hands down, warrior two, the other side. So just like you did on the opposite side, take a moment, set everything up, adjust the feet, find what works for you. Making sure that knee is over top of that ankle, and then the shoulders line up right over top of those hips. Arms come up, knees comes forward, right over top of those fingertips. Flip the front palm, straighten the front leg, consult for a moment. Really reach through those fingertips, stretch. And then let's start to slowly wiggle those fingertips back. That bend means back into that knee or back to your warrior two. And then starting to make our way to extended side angle. Lengthen out, hinge at the hips, double the left thigh, and then the right arm sweeps up. One long line of energy from those tips of those right fingers all the way down the right side of the body. And let's bring those right fingertips around. Hand comes to the hip. Right shoulder draws back. Check in with it. And then start to straighten that front leg. The left hand can come to shin for a little bit of support. Comes to the top of the head. Start to shift the top of the head up towards the ceiling. Then comes back in the knee, right back in your warrior two. We're going to straighten that left leg, bring your hands to your hips. Now turn your toes to match with your chest. And this time, I'm going to have you actually maybe even pitching the toes out just a little bit, angle the heels in. And then let's put a bend in the knee, a little hinge in the hips, hands come to the thigh. And inhale, lengthen out. As you exhale, you're going to bring that left shoulder forward, right shoulder back, chin might turn to the right. And then come through center and switch to the other side. So now you're going to alternate between the two. movement, breath together. Just as I had you do when you're facing the opposite side, when you feel like you've given equal attention to both sides, eventually settle back in to neutral, straighten the legs, back. And let's take a moment while we're here with those legs straight. Reach the fingertips up, open up, kind of the star pose for a moment. Make sure you're not creating any compression in the neck. Chest is open. All of our energy lines are open. The work that we're doing is flowing. Turn those left toes to the top of the mat. Step the right foot forward to meet the left. Pedal the legs out. And let's bring the arms up overhead. Palms are going to touch. Hands come down to heart center, eyes closed. Just take a nice clearing breath. And then finding your inhale. So with your next inhale, sweep those arms wide again. Let those palms touch. Now put a bend in the knees and slowly come down into forward folds. The head hanging, top of the head hanging towards the mat. And then let's slide the hands up the shins, come to halfway lengthen. So straighten the legs, flatten the back. And go ahead and exhale, release, fingertips come to the floor, and then let's step the right foot back, come down on the right knee. Just transition onto your mat, onto your sit bone, however it's comfortable for you. Depending on where you ended up, you might find that you want to scoot your sit bones forward a little bit, bring the hands behind you, and then use the arms to start to lower yourself down onto your back. So it just occurred to me that we haven't been on our backs on our mat yet. Started on belly. So take a moment and just shift the hips side to side, just as you did to kind of get the body acclimated to laying on the mat when we started. Now we want to get the spine acclimated to the mat. So maybe tuck this from there, tuck the shoulder blades under the chest a little bit. Maybe tuck the chin in a little so the back of the neck is long. And then let's extend both legs long, reach the arms up overhead. Take a little full body stretch. Nice big breath here. Let's start to bring the arms down by the side. Bend the knees, place the soles of the feet on the mat, and then you're going to draw the knees into the chest. A little squeeze, just release some of that tension if there is any in that low back. I seem to always have some back there. Let's go ahead and set the feet back down on the mat. Extend the arms out to the side. And then you're going to press into the feet, shift the hips slightly to the right, and then let's let the knees fall over to the left. Coming into a nice soft spinal twist. Once you're there, let the belly, the chest, the shoulders, everything relax into the mat. If you haven't already, maybe close the eyes. Let your intention go right to that focus point. We'll be here for a few more breaths. So if you're noticing anything that needs to be adjusted so you can find a little bit more comfort, go ahead and do that. finding the breath, maybe keeping the eyes closed, the arms, the shoulders, everything's going to stay right where it is. Just start to guide the knees back up towards the ceiling. And then when they get there and the soles of the feet come back to the mat, use the feet to shift the hips then over to the left. And now those knees are just going to fall right over to the right. Finding that focus point. And the arms and the shoulders stay right there. Start to bring the knees back up towards the ceiling. This time when the feet land, adjust the hips so that everything is back midline where you started. And now the knees are going to float over to the side, coming into bound angle pose. And the soles of the feet come together. Outside edges of the feet are on the mat. Let the quad muscles relax. The hips come. Focus right into your knees. And start to guide the knees back up towards the ceiling. This time when the feet land, you're going to pigeon the toes in, widen the heels, and then let the knees fall towards each other. And start to bring the feet kind of back in line with the hips. The knees will separate a little. You're going to bring that left ankle bend to that right knee. When that ankle gets there, let the thigh muscles relax so the hips can just kind of open up where they naturally want to go. You can stay here, or if you want to deepen that figure four, you can pick the legs up and interlace the hands behind that right thigh. If you take the bind, just make sure that you relax the shoulders. So, bringing the tension back in. Let's go ahead and release that. When you took the bind, the right foot's going to come back to the mat. Left ankle uncrosses, and then just switch that to the other side. Same thing, taking a moment, letting everything relax. If the hips can go where they want to go. And then if you took the bind, so on this side. Start to let that go. Uncross the ankles, and then let's bring the knees back into the chest again. So we'll squeeze, maybe even rock side to side. Massage the back, spine, nervous system. And then start to take a little bit of thought as to how you would like to spend your Shavasana. You might find that you want to circle back around and lay on your belly and close past the way that we started it. Or maybe roll onto your side, your back. It's up to you. You also have a moment to take any other type of movement or stretch that you feel like you might need that maybe we didn't cover. And then whenever you feel like you're ready, you can start to make your way to your closing pose. You do get there, just remember to take that clearing breath, that nice big inhale through your nose, the belly expands, and then gently exhaling out of parted lips. So allowing yourself to completely surrender, sign everything over to this time of stillness, and I will bring you back when it is time. starting to deepen the breath. Drawing the awareness back to your body, back to the mat. Just taking a moment to notice how you feel. This place of stillness. And if you wish, using the opportunity to reset an intention for yourself from the space that you're in. And as always, taking a moment of gratitude for yourself. Time from your day, the busyness, life, to come here and honor yourself. I thank you as well for sharing your practice and your energy with me. And I love the light, the truth, and the beauty within each of you because it is also within me. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.
Yeah. How long do you have to use it?
I walked in here and it was like that, and I couldn't believe it.